All right, let's jump back to parents again. So, what did your dad do for a living?
He worked for First National Bank of Cincinnati, and all I remembered him talking about is he was the head cashier. I'm not sure. I ever really knew what his responsibilities all were. I know that he had I guess in today's parlance you would call it a cubicle, but he had a space on the main floor of the bank. And I think for people who had questions about things the bank could do for them, or if they had questions on some of their accounts, if they went to a window, they might get referred to the head cashier. So I guess I came later in life to kind of believe it was more of a customer service function than anything else. But I believe the whole time, certainly the whole time that I thought about it, it seemed like he was the head cashier at First National Bank.
Can you describe? You mentioned some of his personal, what he liked to do, gardening and always busy. What about physically? What did he look like physically?
My dad was, I guess, short by today's standards. I don't know how tall he was, maybe 5'6" or 5'8" or something like that. And he was thin everywhere but in the gut. But he always took pride in the fact that he never weighed more than 200 pounds. So whether he did or didn't, I don't know. But, he played golf some when he got older. But I never saw him do anything else. I never saw him swing a bat or hit a tennis ball or throw a frisbee, or, well, I guess every once in a while I would throw a frisbee, but when he liked to pitch horseshoes. But, so I wouldn't say my dad was an athletic person, but, he generally stayed in pretty good shape, I think, just by all the work he did in his garden.
Did he like to travel?
Mom and Dad didn't travel much. They were never out of the country, unless they went to Canada sometime, or Mexico, that I can't remember. As they get into retirement years, they went with friends, different places, in the car, generally not very long drives. I'm trying to think. I don't know that my mom and dad ever went to the West Coast. I'm not sure if Mom ever went with Dad up to the East Coast. He would go up to Rutgers for these banking classes in the summer. That was always a big deal. We used to go to the airport, the train station. I guess he took the train up there. As he'd leave to go for Rutgers, he'd go like 2 weeks every summer. Did that for a number of years to get this banking certificate or whatever it was he was going for at that time. But I can't recall that my parents may have made it out to Yellowstone or something like that, but they didn't do a whole lot of traveling, and never out of the country that I can recall.
What about your mom as far as physical characteristics?
My mom was tall for that time. She was probably about 5'8" or 5'9". We used to tease her unmercifully because she had a rather narrow nose, but she had little round little round tip of it. And so we always would push the tip of her nose and tease her about her nose. But I never saw my mom do anything as far as athletics go. My mom was deathly afraid of water. Apparently, I don't know if she ever leveled with us on this story. Apparently, as a young girl, somebody had pushed her under the water one time and held her under the water for a long time or whatever. And as a consequence, we'd go on vacation, she would never go underwater, or she would just pull her skirt up to her knees and just kind of wade into the water up to her knees. I never saw my mom get in the lake, never saw her in a swimming pool. I guess if the truth be known, she probably spent most of her time in the kitchen.
So she was a good cook.
Oh yeah.
What was the one dish that she would make especially for you? And if
I know that there was a dish that she made especially for me. The special thing that I always remember is I hated fish as a kid. And so on Friday, if she was making fish for everybody else, she always made me a grilled cheese sandwich or scrambled eggs or something. So I always had something to eat on Friday when everybody else was eating fish. I don't think there was any other one special dish that she made for me.
How did she convince you to start eating fish?
Nobody convinced me to start eating fish. When I went away to college, and of all things, on Fridays, getting dorm food or meal ticket food, all they served was fish. And so if you didn't eat their fish, you were going to go hungry. So I just started eating their fish and found out it was passable. Although I wasn't terribly in love with it, at least I ate it.
Didn't Grandma try and pull a fast one on you with the fish?
I don't know, it was just her. We were on vacation. As a kid, we'd always vacation. We were every summer up to Grand Lake St. Mary's in Salina, Ohio. And so one year we were up there, and it was a Friday, and they told me we were having white steak for dinner. And I said, white steak? Yeah. I said, well, I'll try that. So I had several helpings of white steak and told everybody how terrific it tasted, at which time somebody leveled that it wasn't white steak, it was fish. And I got mad, started crying, and went to my room. I was mad because they tricked me, but I still didn't eat fish after that until I went to college. That was the one and only time I had it. I loved it, but I was mad because they tricked me.
So, of all the things you learned from your parents, which thing or things did you think was the most valuable?
One of the things
What did they instill in you that you find are some of your best values that you've carried on?
I would say that it was probably their faith, their Catholic faith, their Christian faith, and their faith in their children. And I know that we certainly were at Mass every Sunday. Generally, we were one of the first people there every Sunday because Mom and Dad hated to be late for anything. So we left 20 minutes ahead of time to make it to church when we lived 2 minutes away. But they were they truly believed in their faith, their retirement years, they found a radio station where they said the rosary about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So they would put the rosary on. They would sit down in a chair in the living room and say the rosary while they were having cocktails. So,
So it's just like good Catholics, huh?
and as a kid, of course I hated it. It belonged to something which they called block rosary, and I believe it was once a month. They would go to, it was pretty much people in the neighborhood. You could walk to all of them, as I remember. You'd go to their house, and you would kneel down on the floor in their living room and say the rosary. And while we didn't have to go with them, as I recall, to others' houses, when it was at our house, of course we were expected to be with them saying the rosary, which I just hated doing that. But I would say that that's probably the biggest things I took away from that.